George.
Good afternoon.
So, how do you describe yourself?
Best description I can come up with at the moment is integrated coach, counsellor. And that because you're mixing at least two different areas of skill. I'm a counsellor accredited by the British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy, but there's another crowd of influences on the work I do, which would include coaching. What do you want out of your life? What do you want your life to look like? And so on.
Okay, so how are you hoping to actually build this?
Well, one of the areas of work is to do with what's happening in business. I read recently that about 40% of staff absence in business is caused by, for want of a better word, stress. Stress impacts on people's lives. Businesses generally are not charities, they're there to make money. Stress is costing them money. It's reckoned that a stress in the workforce, absence, that kind of thing, costs British business something like £1.2 billion per year.
Wow. So if I was a businesswoman and my staff, I hope, would be happy and everything would be going fine, but I do want to look after my staff, how are you going to help that I actually continue to look after my staff?
We're trying to reduce the amount of stress they're working under.
Okay.
And there's a phrase that I keep using, which is, nothing happens for a reason. It happens for a whole host of reasons, all added together. That comes out of training I did in family therapy. Nothing happens in families for one reason. It happens for a whole host of reasons, all added together. So if somebody's suffering from stress, it's not necessarily simply what's happening in the workplace that's causing them stress. It can be a whole host of different things all added together. And there are people that we know who are suffering from stress. Each of them has a different story, a different mix. So for example, we've got one friend who is in a very bad shape physically. She's very ill. She suffers from a life-threatening condition. So obviously the chief impact on her life is health issues. We've got other friends who've got monetary issues. They don't know where the next penny's coming from. So the biggest impact, the biggest thing that's impacting on their lives is money. Another one would be relationships. Is he going to stay with her? Is he not going to stay with her? It's one form of relationships. Another one can be family. You know, parents, somebody I spoke to this week has had to change the way she's working because dad has got dementia. So she's having to arrange her working life to take care of him. Another one that can happen with people would be what's happening at work. And I used to run a school. One of the things that impacted on me most as a head teacher was to do with people in the workforce who were just plain difficult for everybody to get on with. They didn't want things to change. Things had been the same way for years and years and years, and we'll fight you all the way about changing the conditions that we've been used to working. Those conditions pretty much were, I hesitate to use the word, but fraudulent. But they said that's what we've always done, that's what we need to be allowed to continue to do. So that's a stress on the other members of staff, it's a stress on you if you're trying to run a business.
Okay, so you'd come into my work and meet the staff?
One at a time, probably.
Okay. And how long do your sessions normally last?
For some strange reason, I don't know why it's always worked out this way, sessions get charged for an hour. They generally seem to last an hour and a quarter. I don't know why that is. Sessions with the client seem to have a natural life of their own. The argument could be that you restrict them to an hour because people will sometimes say things just as the session is coming to a close. Sometimes if things are difficult to say, you save them till last. Is another pattern that can happen. What you want to be doing is affording the people the opportunity. One chairperson who's trained in such matters, I do have training, quite extensive training in it. Sometimes it's useful to talk to a relative stranger, and therefore issues within a family, issues at work are sometimes easier to make plans for yourself about if you're talking to a relative outsider. Relative stranger, there isn't the same mix of emotion going on, whatever. What you're trying to talk to the person about is what's the overall picture. There's not one thing that's causing the problem, possibly. There may be several things all added together. Another thing that I tend not to do is stick labels on people. The number of people I've met who suffer from such and such a disorder. He suffers from Tourette's syndrome. Does he? Well, I didn't know that Tourette's syndrome covered that. He suffers from borderline personality disorder. I'm not very sure what that means. And so on. Another one to look at is mental health issues. There are a huge number of people who suffer from what would be called mental health issues. The figure is something like 1 in 3 people will suffer from mental health issues.
Okay. So you would protect my staff from all of those and support them into staying within the work environment?
You don't guarantee anything. Sometimes I know that as an individual I've met people that I would want to discuss my well-being with. My favourite example is the guy who was the president or chair of the Association for Family Therapy. Very senior figure. Would I have wanted to discuss my inner thoughts with him? No, I wouldn't. And that just because the chemistry wouldn't be right. So sometimes the first thing you need to do, and it's for free with the client, is simply to discuss what we're doing, where we're going, what the plan is, and you're trying to find out the answer to, is it likely to be that we will work well together, or does it feel as if it's not a good mix, you and me, to work on these issues? And so what you're doing in the first session, as I say, the first session with a client is free to assess that kind of situation. You'd also want to be talking about what seems to be, can we assess what may be the issues that are going on? What are the issues? Are they things that you can do some work on and make life a bit more settled for you?
Sounds fantastic. Thank you, George.
Thank you.